Hello there guys, and welcome to this XPlane 11 video. We're currently situated at John Wayne Airport, and today we're going to be taking a look at the PA30 Twin Comanche, which was recently released by vFlyteAir. vFlyteAir has a very good record creating Piper aircraft for X-Plane. I've reviewed their PA140 Cherokee here on the channel, but they have stepped things up in this version of their Comanche. So in this video we are going to be taking a look at the 3D modeling, interior and exterior textures, the aircraft systems, and we're going to conclude, as it is always the case, with a short test flight around John Wayne Airport. In terms of the 3D modeling and exterior texture work, I think vFlyteAir has done a very good job modeling this aircraft. It definitely does look like the real-world counterpart. In terms of the exterior textures, the textures do look pretty good, at least from a distance. I don't think they are excellent, but they are very good, and I'll tell you exactly why. So if we zoom in here on the engine, as you can see now, we can observe the jagged lines here. And another thing also I've noticed is that the curvature here, let's take a look right over here. If you look at the details here, okay, you can see that this curve here is not very smooth. Now, it doesn't really take away anything from the aircraft. I think it still looks very good. It's very representative of the real aircraft. It's just that final touch which is missing from the texture work. Another thing I noticed is I'm not sure if they're properly using or applying the PBR technology. It does have that shine, but I don't think that it is. It's not like, for example, the B1900 that was just recently released by Coronado. The reflective textures look just really amazing on that aircraft. By the way, if you guys are interested in a short review of that aircraft, please do let me know. All right, so in terms of the 3D modeling, definitely this aircraft gets a 9 out of 10. In terms of the exterior textures, probably a 7 out of 10. But overall, in the exterior department, I think this aircraft looks pretty good, looks very convincing. In terms of the interior textures and modeling of the 3D cockpit, I think vFlyteAir has not disappointed us with this production. A very well-crafted 3D cockpit that looks very realistic. The texture work on the panels is commendable. It's got a lot of details right over here. You can observe the scratches. The yoke definitely looks extremely realistic. The flooring, again, looks convincing, and the reflective material on this aircraft, again, has the reflective look. So this, pretty much looks like metal. Now, the one thing I've noted in the overall texture work of this aircraft is that it's not done to the highest possible quality. As you can see here, the overhead area here is really not done to the best quality possible. And similar to what I've pointed in the external model, the line here doesn't really come. It's not very smooth, so it's kind of, the texture work can definitely be improved. But I don't think that it takes anything away from the aircraft. I think the overall look and feel, the ambience of the cockpit is still there. It's very realistic. But in terms of the texture work, generally speaking, on this aircraft, I think it's of a lesser quality than, for example, the Piper 140 glass cockpit. I think the textures on that aircraft look just absolutely phenomenal. vFlyteAir has developed a very functional control panel to accompany this aircraft. So let's go ahead and take a quick tour. We have a pre-flight module, weight and balance checklist, and a power table. Now, the pre-flight module gives you access to the aircraft static element as well as the aircraft doors, and it gives you the ability to attach or detach the tip tanks. A quick note on the tip tanks. X-Plane by default supports a total of 4 fuel tanks. And so the guys at vFlyteAir have written custom code to monitor the fuel in those tip tanks. And this is really something to be appreciated, and I think it gives you an appreciation of how much work has gone into developing this aircraft. Another thing in the options menu, which I think is worthwhile mentioning, is the custom engine start here. When enabled, it will follow the custom logic that vFlyteAir developed for the engine start. And what that means is that when the temps are cold, the engine is going to take longer to start. If you disable it, then it will follow the XPlane 11 default logic. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the weight and balance, another area where I am really ecstatic about, because everything now is visual. You can visualize how much fuel is in your all your 6 tanks. You can also manipulate the weight of your passengers. Of course, 0 weight indicates that there is no passenger in this particular seat. And it also gives you, the CG range and weight for your takeoff and landings, just to make sure that, you don't go over the recommended total weight for the aircraft. Another thing, which is probably my absolute favorite part, is the interactive checklist. And the checklist take you from pretty much the walk around from the cabin preparation to the walk around to the entire sequence of starting the engine, climbing, cruising, and landing. And this is something that I really appreciate. I think there is a lot of work that has gone into making this interactive checklist, and the only way that we can find out how good it is to try it on. So with that, let's go ahead and fire up the engines, start the aircraft, and take it for a short flight around John Wayne Airport. Okay, so control wheel, and of course avionics master is off, magnetos are off, landing gear selector is down, master switch needs to go to the on position. So let's remove the yoke so we can see. Master switch is on. Now, you heard the sound, and this is probably the default XPlane sounds for the buttons, and I'm not particularly crazy about the sounds in this aircraft. And this is something, I think, generally speaking, I think all the aircraft that for both XPlane and P3D, I think they lack in the sounds department. Of course, I'm not comparing to the A2A or, for example, the flight factor or the IXEG. But normally, the general aviation aircraft, what I've noticed, come with very low quality sounds, or they just use the default XPlane sounds. And the sounds, guys, is a big thing. I think the sounds really give you that extra level of immersion and realism. But again, that's okay. Let's go ahead and fuel quantities and gauges, they are checked. Wing flaps, we need to lower them and then raise them. So let's do that. All right. And as you can see now, we have a check for this particular item. Now, the white squares will indicate that you need to actually do something before you can check that item. The dimmed squares, or the dark blue, if you will, are the ones that you just need to check and manually click on the check button to mark it as complete. So master switch is off, and as you can see now, the white square is ticked. Required papers and charts, they are on board. Control surfaces, we'll just assume that we've done the entire walk around. Check. Fuel tanks are checked. Gear, struts and tires are checked, and let's just go ahead and check all of these guys here. Baggage door is closed and secured. Seats, belt and harness, brakes are set. All right, all of these guys are set. Alternate static source is closed. Controls are free and correct. Doors are closed. Cold flaps, we need to open those. And we're now done. Okay, so now we're ready for starting the engines. And what we're going to do is 1/2 inch open, master switch can go to on. And now the electrical fuel pump can go on. So we'll start with the right engine. And mixture can go to rich. Magnetos, both on. And now we can start the engine. I don't think we can see the engine from here, but we can hear the... I think we can see the blade there in the corner. Okay, so we have a good start. It says turn on avionics before flight. Strange. Okay, so avionics are on. And let's go ahead and do the same thing for the left engine. So fuel pump is on, and you can now hear the fuel pump. And magnetos can go to on, and let's go ahead and start the left. We need to go to full rich, and now we can start the left engine. There we go, and we have a good start on the left engine as well. I love those stereo sounds. Very, very nice indeed. Alright, so we can adjust the throttle. Oil pressure is checked. Now this is, I'm not sure about this, guys. Now it says the rotating beacon needs to be turned on after the engine start and before taxi. So I don't know, but there we go. So beacons are on, electrical fuel pumps both are off until we are ready for departure. Alright, that's checked. Taxi area is clear. And we're going to now apply throttle, and we'll check the brakes and the steering as we head over to the runway. So let me remove the checklist for the time being, and let's go ahead and taxi to the runway. Alright, so we are at the runway. I've skipped a few parts just in the interest of time. And let's go ahead and turn on both fuel pumps. Okay, and elevator trim. Let's set it for takeoff. Alright, set. Engine gauges are normal. And let's turn on the strobe lights. And we're pretty much now good to go. So we are going to be accelerating until we reach 78 knots, and then we're going to rotate, and then we will of course retract the landing gear. Alright, let's go ahead and remove the checklist, and let's release the parking brake, and let's go. The engine sounds, I guess, are not that bad, but the switches and the buttons, I think, need some work. Alright, and let's do full throttle. We're going to advance the throttle slowly to maximum power. And we're going to wait for our rotation speed. There we go, and rotate. And we have a positive rate of climb. Gear is going up. Okay, so we are now at about 1,600 feet, and I think it's time for us to do a few tests. And the first one we're going to do is the rudder test. So let's go ahead and straighten the aircraft here. And let's do a rudder test. Okay, so this is right rudder, full right rudder, and full left rudder. It kind of feels a bit strange. It definitely does what you'd expect it to do, but I just felt that it wasn't very fluid. All right, let's make a turn here, and I'm just going to give it a little bit of rudder here. Yeah, it flies alright. Let's do a right turn with rudder. Lovely. Alright, now we're going to do a stall test. So I'm going to reduce power to idle. And I'm going to pitch the aircraft up. Let's see what happens. There we go, stall warning. And the aircraft is definitely stalling now. So we're going to pitch down. And we're going to add a little bit of power to recover. There we go. I really like the reflections here on the panel. Looks very good. Well, the sounds are good. The engine sounds are okay. I think they're acceptable. And the aircraft flies really nice. And by the way, you can actually pop these instruments here for a better display, which I think is a very nice feature. You can do the same thing with, it's not all of them, but you can do, for example, the RPM, the manifold pressure. Here, let me put this back here. And then your altitude, your airspeed, and your heading as well. Very, very cool feature. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to conclude our video with a 10 nautical mile approach into John Wayne Airport. Alright folks, we are now on final John Wayne Airport, and let's go ahead and lower the landing gear. And at this point I'm going to introduce flaps. The night lighting in X-Plane is just absolutely phenomenal. .200 feet, and we are almost there now. And engine power to idle, and touchdown. Well guys, this brings us to the conclusion of our short show today. I hope that you have enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it for you. I hope that it gave you a fair look at this beautiful aircraft, the Piper 30 Twin Comanche by vFlyteAir. If you have any questions, please do post them in the comment section below. And until next time, please take care of yourselves and each other. I will see you all very soon. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye for now.